Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. We have Sandy Kreisberg, who is the founder of HBSguru.com. And we have a candidate from Nigeria. We'll call him Nathan. That's his name. He has an impressive GRE score that puts him on an equivalent GMAT score of 780. He has a 3.98 on a 5-point GPA, which puts him in the top 10% of his class. He's a senior.
Where, John?
At the University of Lagos. And he is a senior strategy associate for Cellulent, which is the African equivalent of PayPal, a payment platform system. He has also had over 2 years at Deloitte as an auditor, and he's worked for the foremost investment bank in Nigeria as well, and has worked on some fairly large deals in Africa for that investment bank. He is aiming for big schools: Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, Yale, Duke, and UVA Darden. And he wants to be a management consultant. So I'm sure he wants to work at McKinsey BCG. Sandy, what do you think?
I think this guy is a very, very powerful candidate. For one thing, the schools love people. The American business schools love applicants from Africa. And this guy is the real deal. This guy didn't, go to 6th grade in Africa and then live in Canada, since then. This guy is right now in Lagos and has spent, he's had a number of jobs. Mr. Candidate, could you introduce yourself? Let's stop yakking here and introduce yourself and just tell us who you are and what you're up to.
Okay, so thank you for having me. My name is Nathan. I, studied chemistry from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, then got into finance, right? Right off the bat, I started a furniture company, won a grant for the company, but then moved into audit.
Let me just clarify
Deloitte,
that, because your connection's a little sketchy. You started a furniture company. That was very impressive, and you did that for a couple of years. And then what was your next move?
So my next move was to then join Deloitte as an audit associate. I spent 2 years at Deloitte. I was in the financial services unit of the audit team in Deloitte for 2 years. I'd gotten promoted and I'd gotten to lead some small deals just before I ventured out again.
Let me just interrupt and keep moving along. So you were at Deloitte, which is a good company to work for because it's a brand name. The admissions officers will know what that means. Is that particularly selective in Nigeria? Is that a hard job to get?
Absolutely. Of course, Deloitte, like you said, is a global brand. It's one of the big four, and it's the creme de la creme in terms of the jobs that people do once here in Nigeria.
Okay, that's impressive. And then what'd you do after that?
So right after Deloitte, I went into investment banking with Chapel Hill Denham Advisory Limited here in Nigeria as well.
This is important. You made a critical move. You went from consulting to investment banking. That's a very hard river to cross. And you managed.
Even harder. He went from being an auditor.
There you go. Right. Yeah, good point. To Chapel Hill Denham Advisory Limited. Okay, what can you tell us about that for people who don't know about that as an investment bank?
Okay, so in Nigeria here, there's no way you won't know Chapel Hill Denham Advisory Limited. Chapel Hill Denham, for short, let me just say CHD is arguably one of the best investment banks here in Nigeria. CHD, we do the biggest of deals in terms of, capital raises, M&As, restructuring, and all of that here in Nigeria.
People from CHD typically apply, not typically, but are there people there who apply to North American business schools?
Oh, yes. I I know a few. The London Business School, Chicago Boots. I know someone who is also currently a Rotman. I know somebody who's finished from Ivy in Canada.
Good. And you worked there for 11 months. Well, what are you doing now?
So currently, I'm a strategy associate with Cellulant. Cellulant is a payments platform, a payments facilitation company.
Give me some idea of its size. How many employees? Where is it headquartered? Revenues?
In terms of size, in terms of revenue, Cellulant is a say $40 million revenue company. We have about 473 employees, headquartered in Kenya. We have offices in about 14 African countries, right? Yeah.
Good.
And we have employees across the world as well, not just in Africa.
Good. That's very impressive, because that would mean that North American and European business schools will have heard of it, and they might have admitted other Cellulant employees into their programs over the years. Do you know if that has happened?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know someone who is in his second year currently at the HBS.
Well, okay, so that is a great marker for you. What does that person? What do you know about that person who got into HBS from Cellulant?
The person who had gotten to HBS from Cellulant was, also a strategy associate, or a strategy person. He was while he was here.
How different was that person from you in terms of his roles in the company?
Okay, so for me, I do more of I have a relationship with the senior management. I report directly to the chief business officer here, and I cover about 8 countries. Market entry efforts, business analysis, giving data on decisions that need to be made in asset acquisition in certain countries. By assets, I mean the things that we need to be able to perform.
Good.
Payment
Very good.
methods that we in those countries.
So would you say that you had comparable duties to the guy who got into HBS?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
You're friendly with that person?
Well, not very friendly. We're on talking terms, but not as friendly as you would call it.
Here's a friend. You might reach out to that person and say, hey, buddy, I'm thinking of applying. Could you tell me what it's like? Blah, blah, blah. That's one of the things business schools like. They like networkers. He might be able to give you some tips. That would be very important. He could also tell you what his interview was like, etc. He could be very important if you get interviewed. You could ask him what questions they ask. Boy, I think you've got a lot going for you. Could you do this? Could you tell me what a roadmap would be for you after you graduate? Like, let's say you go to one of your first choice schools, and in 2 years you graduate. What job would you want after that? And what job would you want as a second job? And where do you see yourself at the top of your career?
For me, right, in pursuit of a career, I think that my first choice role or job would be private equity, right? And I need to focus on infrastructure in Africa. 2 people that really inspire me, whose achievements I would love to model and hopefully surpass Bolaji Balogun, the CEO of Chapo Denham Nigeria Limited that I talked about earlier, and Henry Kravis of KKR & Co. Henry is a private equity.
Henry Kravis is a good role model.
Bolaji Balogun is, and Bolaji Balogun is an investment banker, right? A renowned investment investment banker. I worked with him at CHD. He's done really landmark deals in Nigeria. He orchestrated one of the biggest exits in the history of the nation. Henry Kravis is, a seasoned private equity investor who is widely recognized for his, business acumen, relentless pursuit of investment opportunities. So yeah, those are two role models. Bolaji Balogun is a real influence, given that I'd worked with him in my time at CHD, at Chapel Hill.
Good. Those are wonderful role models. Let me say this again, you're a real solid guy. You just have to be certain in presenting yourself that you inform the business schools what Cellulant is, what its size is, what the projects you've worked on. And they just, if it's possible that the North American schools may not have heard of it. So you have to let them know that this is a selective leading company. Who are you? And tell your recommenders, let's finish with this. Tell your recommenders to make that clear in the recommendation. Who are you going to use as recommenders?
So I'm considering using one of my managers while I was at Chapel Hill and my manager here in Cellulant.
Yeah, those are excellent choices. Those are they expect a recommendation from your current employer, and then Chapel Hill was a good. That was investment banking. That would lay the foundation for your goals in private equity. So all of that, those are two good recommendations. Are you able to, do these people are they experienced in writing recommendations for European and North American business schools?
I'm not exactly sure about my recommender that I want to use from Chapel Hill, but I believe my manager here is experienced, would be experienced in writing recommendation. I know she's written for someone who also got in, although not to a North American MBA program. It was to,
what you have to do, yeah, that's fine. This is a little diplomatic. What you should do is, after you diplomatically ask them, recommender, I'm applying to business school. This is very important to me. And I was told that the recommendations are important. Would you be willing to write a recommendation for me? And John, what do they typically say?
You're the best person who's ever worked for me, or one of the top 2-3 people I've ever been exposed to.
No, that's what you say. What do the recommenders say when you ask them to write a recommendation?
Oh, they'll say, oh, well, why don't you write up something and then I'll
they'll say, you write it and I'll review it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you go, thank you very much. Okay. So that gives you an opportunity to write the recommendation and to get in all the positive things. Okay. You don't have, you don't have to brag so much, but that is what you want them to say, because sometimes these people don't know how to write a recommendation. Aside from that, man, you're a very, very solid guy. Just make clear what your GPA translates to, etc. John, you have any more advice for Nathan?
Oh, I'd apply round 1. Don't wait for round 2.
I agree with that. You're a round 1 applicant. You're very strong, and
I would reach out to the acquaintance, not the friend, you said, of the person that who's already going to Harvard, and ask that person if they would be willing to review your application materials before you submit them.
what are you thinking of staying in the Harvard essay. Do you know what the prompt is?
Yes, yes.
If the
I'm aware
prompt
of the
is,
prompt. As we review your essay, what more would you like us to know?
yeah, we already know about all the jive about your grades and stuff. What else do you want us to know?
So really, I'd like to, talk about my social impact side of things, and how I am, really interested in education. There's nowhere in my CV where it currently says so. But I currently volunteer with an NGO that is focused on education, and
That's great. That's
a
good.
program manager. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I think you could write a great essay by saying, what I really want you to know is what impact I want to have in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's important.
I would use that as the essay, and you can talk about the education as part of it. I'd like to be a progressive leader in Nigeria. I see the problems facing Nigeria as blah, blah, blah. And when I get my business degree, my plan, just quickly, is to do this, this, and this. And what I would like to bring to those roles is A, B, and C. And you can also mention role models. That's a very effective way of letting them know that you know what you're talking about.
And here's also, I want to just amplify the fact that you need to apply round one. Stanford has an Africa MBA fellowship. They offer 8 of these every year to Africans, and they are full tuition scholarships, and even can include all of your living expenses, room and board, for 2 years, up to $170,000. So you want...
Hey, John, that is gold. That's gold, John. That's gold. How can he find out who the current winners of that scholarship are?
I would Google who the winners are. I guarantee you that Stanford is promoting them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's gold, John. That's why we have you around.
Because
Thank you, John.
Stanford recognizes that Africa as a continent will be increasingly important in the world economy in the years ahead.
Stanford is wah. Stanford loves Africa. It's got everything that Stanford loves: overcoming adversity, underrepresented minority representation in the U.S. Stanford heart Africa.
Yep. And what Sandy said about how you want to use the degree to become a leader, a progressive leader in Nigeria, is extremely important, because what Stanford wants out of the fellowship program is to have people go back and be a success in their countries in Africa, and then reflect, obviously, well on the skill.
Yeah, you got to convince them you're going back. A lot of people who win fellowships like that go, gee, it's kind of nice here in Palo Alto. It's a little nicer than many parts of Nigeria. I think I might stay here for
you don't want to do that.
20 years or so. No, I'm saying you don't want to say that, but it wouldn't surprise me if that has happened.
Right.
They can't make you go back.
So Stanford, what do you think Nathan's odds are for an interview at Stanford?
Really high, man. Like I said, he's a powerful applicant. He's got it all. He's underrepresented. He's from Africa. He's got, there's nothing that you have to excuse here. You go, oh, well, he's got all that, but, I don't do well on standardized testing. He's got powerful standardized test scores.
Right.
You got it all, buddy. I expect you to be interviewed.
Yes.
Would
you expect him to be admitted?
Well, the interview is a place where a lot of superstars can screw it up with I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can kill yourself in an interview in one sentence. But all that being said, I think your odds of being interviewed and I think your odds of being admitted are good. You're a very powerful applicant.
Thank you.
Well, Nathan, good luck to you.
You got any questions for us, Nathan?
So yeah, the question I would just, like to ask would be around my HBS essay. What do you think is the ideal length, right? Because there's really no cap to how much you can write, and I'm wondering how much of words would be too many words, and
Hey, John,
things
correct me
around that.
here. Isn't there a limit on the HBS essay?
Yeah, originally when our favorite admissions
Yeah,
director,
just answer the question here.
yes,
We'll
there is now
reminisce
a
on
limit.
it.
Yes, there is now a limit on it.
Yeah, and it's not a long limit either, is it?
No.
I believe it's 900 words, and that includes your story and your bragology, and also your goals.
Yeah, 900 words is the limit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And that
Here's
was
my suggestion for
recently
that.
imposed. Yeah, go ahead.
For you and everybody else, this is just a writing process. Write the first version. I don't care if it's 2,000 words, and then get it down. The writing process is the way that writing happens. So don't, when you're writing the first draft, don't worry about the 900 words. Take as many words as you need, and then see what you got. And then you go, okay, now I've got to get this down to 900.
Yep.
We expect to see you here, Nathan. You're very, very accomplished.
Well, good luck to you. And
Thank you, John. Thank you, Sandy.
And let us know how it all turns out, okay?
I definitely will. Will. Thank you.
And for all of you out there on your journey to a great MBA education, good luck to you as well. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching Fridays with Sandy.